Prior to the 20th century, the use of data and the statistics was still relatively undeveloped. Much of the scientific research of the day used the basic descriptive statistics as evidence for the hypothesis validation. The inability to draw clear conclusions from noisy data, and almost all real data is more or less noisy, made much of the scientific debates more about opinions of the data rather than the data itself. One such fierce debate in the 19th century was between the two medical professionals, in which they debated, both with the data, the cause of cholera, a bacterial infection that was often fatal. The cholera outbreak in London in 1854 was especially brutal, claiming more than 14,000 lives in a single year. The cause of the illness was unknown at the time, and two competing theories from two researchers emerged. One well-respected and established epidemiologist argued that cholera was caused by air pollution created by decomposing and unsanitary matter. Dr. John Snow, also a successful epidemiologist, put forth the theory that cholera was spread by consuming water that was contaminated by a special animal poison. This was prior to the discovery of bacteria and germs. The two debated for years. Dr. John Snow was passionate and vocal and relentless in proving his theory. It's said he even collected data by going door to door during the cholera outbreak in Soho district of 1854. It was from that outbreak and his collected data that he made his own famous map shown in the figure. The hand-drawn map of the Soho district included little tick marks at the addresses where cholera deaths were reported. Overlaying the location of water pumps where residents got their drinking water showed a rather obvious clustering around the water pump on the Broad Street. With his map and his passionate pleas, the city did allow the pump handle to be removed, and the epidemic in that region subsided. Ronald Fisher, a professor of genetics, and many of his revolutionary contributions to the statistics in pioneering the statistical model in scientific inference. This could be the representative case for 20th century data analysis. An agricultural research station north of London began conducting experiments on the effects of fertilizer on crop yield. In 1919, they hired a brilliant young statistician named Ronald Fisher to pore through more than 70 years of data and help them understand it. Fisher quickly ran into a challenge with the data being confounded, and he found it difficult to isolate the effect of the fertilizer from other effects such as weather or soil quality. This challenging could lead Fisher toward discoveries that would forever change not just the world of statistics, but almost every scientific field in the 20th century. What Fisher discovered is that if an experiment was designed correctly, the influence of various effects could not just be separated, but also could be measured, and their influence be calculated. With a properly designed experiment, he was able to isolate the effects of weather, soil quality, and other factors so he could compare the effects of various fertilizer mixtures. And this work was not limited to agriculture. The same techniques are still used widely in everything from medical trials to archaeology dig sites. Fisher's work and the work of his peers helped revolutionize science in the 20th century. No longer could scientists simply collect and present their data as evidence of their claim, as they had in the 19th and 18th centuries. They now had the tools to design robust experiments and techniques to model how the variables affected the experiment and observations. In 21st century, human history is characterized by the shift from industrial production to one based on information and computerization, also called the information age. The Web 2.0, social media, mobile devices, cloud computing, and IoT technologies have created an ever-increasing large quantity of complex, noisy, diverse, and high-speed and high-frequency data. New trends and approaches are born from the practical problems created by the information age. Novel data visualization techniques have been created for the purpose of describing and exploring the data. In 2001, Leo Breiman, a statistician who focuses on machine learning algorithms, describes a new culture of data analysis that does not focus on defining a data model of nature, but instead derives an algorithmic model from nature. This new culture has evolved within computer science and engineering largely outside or perhaps alongside traditional statistics. The revolutionary idea is that models should be judged on their predictive accuracy instead of validating the model with traditional statistical tests, which are not without value, by the way. Since this new approach demands training, validating, and testing data sets, and an iterative training validation process to improve the model accuracy, it is not well suited to small data sets, but works remarkably well with modern data sets. There are several main differences between the data analysis in the modern information age and the agricultural fields of 20th century. First, there's a large difference in the available sample size. Second, for many environments and industries, a properly designed experiment is unlikely or, if not, completely impossible. You cannot divide your networks into control and test groups, nor would you want to test the efficacy of a web application firewall by only protecting a portion of a critical application. In cybersecurity today, the big challenge is to be able to protect against the millions of new malware variants that are launched daily. Many security solutions are incapable of detecting this fast evolving malware because they rely on manually tuned heuristics for creating handcrafted signatures. This process is time-consuming and reactive, leaving organizations vulnerable until the new signature is released. Cybersecurity solutions that apply machine learning artificial intelligence utilize manually selected features, which are then fed into classical machine learning modules to classify the file as malicious or benign. But despite improvements in the rate and the pace of detection, they are still lacking. Deep learning is the next step in artificial intelligence. It is also known as neural networks because it is inspired by the brain's ability to identify objects. Similar to the way our brain is fed with raw data from our sensory input and learns the high-level features on its own, in deep learning, raw data is fed through the deep neural network, which then learns on its own to identify the object on which it is trained. Recent advancements in deep learning has enabled technologies that leverage deep learning to exhibit amazing results across applications, such as object, facial, speech recognition. When applied to cybersecurity, it makes milliseconds to feed a raw data file and pass it through the deep neural network to obtain detection with the highest accuracy rate. This predictive capability of being able to detect a never-before-seen malware variant enables not only extremely accurate detection, but also leads the way to real-time prevention. Because at the very second a malicious file is detected, it is already blocked.